I think the only thing I'd add to the Rodgers thing is he's perhaps learned how to deal with big players better since he was at Liverpool. I think some of his motivational methods when he was at Liverpool perhaps weren't the best, although they were rooted in sound theory. They didn't really work very well, and some of the ways that he treated some of the players perhaps wasn't the best. But I think since he's been at Celtic, and although they're perhaps not as big in terms of the world game, they're massive superstars in Scottish football, and they're used to winning, and they're used to sort of performing at the top level in Scotland. I think he's had that experience of dealing with bigger egos, so to speak, and dealt with it quite well and kept them winning and kept not let them get complacent, because that's the thing that could have happened quite easily up here. He could quite easily have just sort of got to the point where, I don't need to do anything, we'll just win the league regardless now. Whereas he still did have Aberdeen and sort of Rangers later on sort of came up and started challenging again. So he still had to sort of keep making sure the players were motivated and sort of not resting on the laurels, so to speak, to be able to win every single trophy that he went for domestically. So yeah, I think that's the only thing I'd add for the Rodgers thing, is that I think he's got better at dealing with players with sort of bigger egos and players that have that winning mentality, and I think that's probably helped him at Leicester.
Cool. That's fair. Anything else? I'm kind of happy with Rodgers where that's at. Is there anything you wanted to add, Ali?
I think with Rodgers, I don't think he gets the whole, because he hasn't kind of won the. It's really hard to say. I think if he'd won the Premier League with Liverpool, it'd be a very, very different conversation we're having about Rodgers. So I think he's very close, and I don't also think he would have gone to Celtic. I think his trajectory would have been slightly different.
Yeah.
Might not have left.
If he won the league at Liverpool, he'd still be there now.
Yeah, probably would have still be there.
Yeah. And if, say, for example, I declined it, because the issue he had at Liverpool, which I saw, and you correct me if you think otherwise, is that he built his team on playing football that was very fast. We had he had Suarez, he had Raheem Sterling, he had some real pace, and then he sells his fast players but doesn't replace them with really fast players. So that model he had, where he could break and he could score these goals and he could play fast-paced football, after selling your quick players, if you don't replace them with quick players, then you're not going to be able to play that. So I think even if they won the league, but then they sold those players, they sold Suarez, they sold Sterling and stuff, I think he still would have seen that decline, because I don't think he played a different way, because they didn't replace fast with fast.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say? Would you say?
Possibly. Although I think Suarez was a massive part of why Rodgers did so well that year, because he was phenomenal. 31 goals in 33 league games.
Unbelievable.
Frightening. In the Premier League. Nobody's ever done that before. Actually frightening.
Sturridge's injury record as well.
Yeah, probably didn't help. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you can't really replace Suarez like for like, can you?
Yeah, no, yeah. So say Suarez did go and then he won the league, I still think he would have seen a decline and maybe would have got rid of him after that decline. We don't know. It's a lot of shoulda, woulda, coulda. But at the same time, I think Rodgers is just outside that bracket. I'd put him, I wouldn't even put him as up there with the people we're talking about that aren't as good as the elite, like the Contes or whatever, that are just outside. I'd put him even below that bracket. But I think he's got age on his side, though. I think he's got another 30 years in the game. And if he spends 30 years in the game, the way he's looking right now and the way he kind of, like you said, has learned a lot about handling big-name players and handling a big club and the big expectations that come with a big club and the big media that comes with a big club and all that kind of stuff. I think it was a great training place for him where he was going to win it. He was going to win it. but at the same time, he had that media and he had everything like that as well. I think over the next 30 years, I think we might see him do some incredible things, hopefully, but you just don't know. I really enjoyed him as manager of Liverpool. I thought he was brilliant. It was just you. But I think the Suarez effect, everything came into play. Gerrard as the captain, as a proper legend, and all that kind of stuff. It was really good fun. It was really good, and it kind of reignited the love to go down. Did we go down and watch him play? We did, didn't we?
We went for a European game. Was it Udinese?
Udinese. 5 goals that game. A great Suarez goal as well.
Yeah.
So I won't say the result, but yeah, it was 5 goals. It was, but yeah, no, it was a great place to be as well. It wasn't so all that kind of stuff. So I think Rodgers has gone to clubs and created great atmospheres and got clubs very excited, and they've been like, oh, we love it. We're into less. I think he'll have a great career, but I don't think we can talk about Rodgers as that guy.
Not yet, no.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
The other one, Klopp. Klopp's just a legend. He plays rock and roll football. Like, I think if you are a neutral fan and you want to see just someone just rocking and rolling, a great advert for football, you could take your kids to watch a Klopp game and all of a sudden kids are like, is that football? I want to play football. Is that how it goes? Let's go. This is what I want to do. I don't even think City have that. I don't think, like, City have a lot of. I've got a lot of Asian friends who have turned into City fans because they couldn't get tickets for the teams they were fans for, right? So they couldn't get season tickets, so they start applying for a City season tickets.
There's always spare tickets at the empty shed.
So I've got these guys who, like, they're successful guys and they want to go watch football every weekend, and they're like, look, do you know what? We actually don't support City, but we've got a season ticket because we can get one, and then we can take it.
Dressed in sky blue, looking like a seat as well, or is that just? But
the thing, so City have attracted a lot of these fans that aren't City fans. They aren't singing the songs. They aren't like. I've got a mate who I did a course with, and he's a proper City fan. Like, he is proper, like, from back in the day, and he went through relegation with them and all that kind of stuff. And he talks about, like, this, that, and the next, and he's quite level-headed. And he's like, oh, we're in a transition phase right now, or so he feels, or whatever. He's quite level-headed. But you go to Liverpool and you see a Klopp rocking and rolling as a kid. I'm sorry, but there's just, if I had a young, impressionable boy who was maybe 13, 14, and I was like, look, you might not want to go down to the park to see the girls. You might want to go down to the park to kick a ball about. I'd be taking him to Liverpool games. And I'd be like, yo, this is football. It gets rock and rolling. This is like the songs, the chanting, everything, where you're up at the top of the league and you've just won the Champions League. You're top, like, and Klopp has created that, and we've seen he's done it in the past. He's been on stage in the past. He's been at concerts on stage in the past. Like, that's Klopp. And I think if you want people to really buy into, like, football, you want to develop some real passion for football in the UK, there's not many clubs you can take a young boy to and be like, this is real.
True.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of similarities, not so much personality-wise, but what Klopp's doing there that, and it pains me to say it, but what we had with Ferguson.
Absolutely.
Also there's a lot of similarities in that, again, Ferguson came into a club that it was passionate because United hadn't won for a while. It was 26 years before Ferguson won it. From Matt Busby hadn't won it previously, and you had the romance of the Munich, obviously, disaster and all that goes with that history of, you know the way I use the word romance there, you get what I mean, right? It's like, you know, the fact that built it again from that situation. And I think you saw, and what Ferguson had was a fearless football. Like it was almost a case again. Almost the Pep to Klopp was Wenger to him. That was the thing. Do you remember that a lot of the time they used to call Wenger the scientist, and almost like Ferguson was some sort of throwback to a different age. But what Ferguson's teams had was just we'll score one more than you all, no matter what. We'll play foot. It was 4-4-2. It evolved over time because he got your Ronaldos and your Tevezes and these kind of players, and he adapted with the times. But that 99 team was just two phenomenal midfield players, flying wingers, and two forwards, and it was just, we're going to take you on. And it was literally that, almost that rock and roll element to it again, of just going, we're just going to go, and it's not even that much tactics in it. We're going to trust our players are better than yours, and we're going to attack you no matter what's going on. We're going to try and score goals. And I think there is a simplicity. We talk about the simplicity versus the more complicated approaches, and I think that's something I see in Klopp that's really different to Pep, in that it's more about just going out there, expressing yourself and trying to beat teams, whereas Pep will coach the life out of it, but it can work as well. And when you have to be at Pep's level, though, to make that work. Same as Wenger. Wenger was very, very good for a long time. He just probably stayed along too long. And Wenger was interesting to touch on as well.
Pep has a record of improving players. He has a track record of making...
Yeah, so did Wenger, though.
Yeah.
Henry was struggling when he went there. That's the best out-and-out forward this Premier League has had, probably, is Thierry Henry.
He wasn't even a striker when he went there. He was a winger.
A struggling winger in Italy. Wenger turned him into... And Wenger, remember, just lost to Anelka.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, he'll never get over that, because Anelka was great for Arsenal. He went to Real Madrid, brought in Henry, who was better still. Bergkamp wasn't in the best situation when he went to Arsenal. He hadn't had the best of times. Do you know what I mean? Good player, but he wasn't looked at the way he was when he left Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? Like Patrick Vieira, look, Manu Petit, Mark Overmars, the list goes, Perez, the list goes on and on of legends of the Premier League game that Wenger gave us by taking these players and turning them into who they became. So Wenger was incredible. Wenger's problem is he stayed around too long. That's what happened to Wenger, and it tainted it a bit, which is a real shame, because the move to the stadium really had a huge impact for him, and he's almost paid for his loyalty, because at that point, where couldn't have Wenger gone? In fact, he was on the Real Madrid job 3 times or something, apparently. They tried to get Wenger. Do you know what I mean? He could have had any job he wanted, really. Even towards the last couple of years, they were still talking of him.
Yeah.
One big European job, weren't they? But he was just so loyal. But bringing that back to Klopp, I think that's I think that rock and roll football, that thing of how to unite a stadium behind a cause, I think that's the thing that Ferguson had that United haven't replaced. How do you replace it? It's hard to do. I think Liverpool have that.
Your fans were shite, though.
Say again?
Didn't Fergie say your fans were shite?
You got to understand that maybe when Liverpool have won some leagues, they'll understand this. But United had such United in the 80s, in the 70s and the 80s was the most passionate. My uncles that used to go to every game, they miss it because that's when it was a great to go. We were shit and we were starting to get good, but the atmosphere was incredible. What happened is that United really had this huge win as the Premier League came in, and as the league here went global, and we attracted a lot of the fans that, again, weren't really the fans. But there was always this base of United fans, the ones that go away, that you see them away from home, they're absolutely incredible. Do you know, that's the fans that they grew up and they had this whole this thing with Ferguson that went right through. But Ferguson won for so long that, again, you get used to winning, right? It's all I knew as a kid was United winning in the 90s, man. It's all I knew. Do you know what I mean? So I found it hard to relate to my uncle's stories that were like, you've no idea how good this used to be in the 70s. I'm like, you didn't win for all. That must have been shit. And actually, I get it more. I understand where they were coming from. It was this thing. Liverpool have waited so long that you're going to have, if you win it, which looks like you're going to if this restarts again, and then if you can win it again and again, you'll have this huge, affinity with this success that's happened having had wait so long. But then if you were to go on anything that resembles the run United had and what yourselves had in the 70s and the 80s.
Don't remember our fans being shite in the 70s and 80s, though.
the 70s and 80s, no fans were shite, were they? Let's be honest. Everyone was having it. You've watched some documentaries on the fans in the 70s, bro. That was like fucking Wild Wild West, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's the thing, right? The games with it, you put the person, people that go to matches are different. Like you said, people like, oh, I've got tickets for City, I'm going to go. That's not what happened then. It was tribal.
Yeah, totally.
Tribal. You go.
And not just that. It was the before, game, after. There wasn't a social media. There wasn't like, okay, you might have you might have some punditry on TV or radio talking about football or whatever, but it was everything around it where you weren't sitting on social media and fighting someone on Twitter. Like you were actually speaking to people about the game. You were speaking to people, and then all of a sudden, if you were a part of that conversation, you were just an average guy who isn't really from Manchester and you're supporting Manchester and you're from London and stuff like that. The guys who are talking about it aren't even going to listen to you because, like, what's this guy from East Ham going to tell me about Manchester United playing?
You know what I mean? Now,
on Twitter or whatever.
You go to the States and they'd be like, they're almost, you feel like, do you go to all the games? They seem to know everything about it. Like because they've got access to it. That's the difference. So it's like, you can't, it's very hard to compare those eras. So that kind of goes against some of the points raised at the same point because it's different eras. It's the same as when we talk about the Pogba Souness thing. You're like, it's out of context because they're from very different worlds. How can they have something in common? It's difficult. But I feel like that spirit is at the end of the day, people buy into stories, right? People buy into stories. It's how the marketing world works as well. You market and you amplify a story. And Liverpool have an incredible story now because they haven't won the league for so long and they're about to. So it's an incredible story because there's a history to it. It means more to win that league than it does if you won one and you've been winning it and you've been winning it and you've been winning it. It's sustained success. But when you're that, it's like you'll never get another Leicester story because how could you compare anyone else winning the league to when Leicester won it? Because it's like, this defies everything. It's just so much bigger. And I feel like Liverpool, because of their history, it's going to have that same thing the way that United did when we won it for the first time in 1993. Having missed it having should have won it and been denied it by Cantona's Leeds, but then having Cantona swap sides and then win it for United. And there were so many stories around it, but it was 26 years. You can't. So, yeah, there's a thing. Well, Anfield would work the same way if you were to win 4 or 5 league titles on the bounce, possibly, but it won't be the same as that night when you win it the first one. You can't replicate that.
You know what? You're spot on. I remember reading like a scientific paper on being happy and all that kind of stuff. And one of the biggest things about happiness is that when you're moving towards a goal and you're about to achieve it is the happiest time. Once you achieve the goal, you actually don't experience happiness. After you've achieved it, there's actually a lull that you're like, oh, it's done now. And I should be feeling like amazing. But obviously there's a big celebration once you've achieved the goal. Say, for example, it is something like winning the league and you win the league and you have a big piss up and you have a celebration and all that kind of stuff. But the journey towards achieving the goal, just before you hit it, is supposed to be the happiest time. Like Liverpool fans should be the happiest right now. If we didn't have this like lockdown or whatever, this would be like, you'd be really upset. You'd be like, this is the pinnacle. But just before and once you win it, there always is a bit of a lull. And then to win it again and stuff like that, it actually takes quite a bit. So there's definitely respect for teams that go on a run and win. Yeah. They keep achieving, and they hold on to that happiness for a longer period of time. And you like watching that Michael Jordan documentary as well. He won like 3 championships. Like Larry Bird had won 2, Magic Johnson had won 2, and he was the first to win 3. And he's like, afterwards, he was just like, oh, I'm exhausted. It's a bit of a relief. It wasn't like elation. It wasn't like, this is amazing, blah, blah, blah. But the build up to it was like, we're going to do, blah. And like, you know how Americans get, and they're like, oh, there's Rodman's doing his thing, Pippin's doing. And then once he wins it, it's just like,
because they built it up to be bigger, and then when actually it's the build up that was, and once it's done, they were like, I'm already, I thought I'd feel different, and I'm excited again because I want to go do it again.
So that's why I've got mad respect for the clubs that have gone on runs and they've won it so many times. But that's also why you don't see someone like Leicester, who have had this big build-up, and they hit it, and afterwards the lull, and then they're back on it now, where they're like in Champions League places and stuff. So it'd be very interesting to see how Liverpool do it, especially after last year, where there was a disallowed goal by whatever.
Yeah.
Like this year to then win it, if we do, and then next year will be very interesting. We throw a Champions League in there and all that kind of stuff. It's a very, very interesting time, and I don't think it's going to be all happy and all hunky-dory and all that kind of stuff. I think it actually, the rock and roll football, the one downside that I think it might have is that it might fatigue a lot of people. What do you think about that?
I don't know. We've been playing it for 3 years.
Yeah, I think Poch used to get that. There's certain players that like the press, the gen press and that sort of thing. You see he gets brought up quite a bit, but if you've been playing that the whole time, you get players that you should sign players that you know will be able to do it, and enough that you can use your squad enough to make sure you've got players that can do it. Because it's a demanding way of playing. You need a way to do it. Again, that's what I'm saying. It's important to have a philosophy, because the director of football, I think, should be saying that's partly what we're going to do going forward. Because if you've got a coach that doesn't agree with that, and the next coach does, trying to play gen press with the team that we're used to playing the low block, you could kill them. They're going to run 3 times as much. You need to have a way of playing that's going to go. We're going to look for the whole team, the players, the signings, and then the manager, that's the coach. The whole team's going to be based around this philosophy. And I feel like that's where clubs are now. The clubs that do that best, that know who they are and what they're trying to achieve, and they're not going to divert from that for just this anything that can happen, like a coach leaving for whatever reason. They're the ones that are going to have sustain success. Liverpool certainly feel like they set up for that with Klopp. I think City, we're going to see, because there's all kinds going on there with the obviously the potential ban and just Pep's general happiness. But if they keep that director of football, I'm pretty sure that could be where Rodgers goes next. It could be that kind of job when they can go, we're going to develop someone, but he plays the style of football that could buy into what City are trying to do. Rodgers could go City next. Could do.
Yeah.